Today, we are talking about a difficult subject. It's been a headline in the news, pit bulls attacking people. There has been another fatal incident in South Africa. And we're joined by Philip. Hi, Philip.
Hello, Tersha, and I hope you and everybody else is keeping well, surviving the heat and all the water wherever you may be.
We are doing our best. So, Philip, in the news at this point in time, there's a lot being said about pit bulls as a breed of dogs. There are advocacy groups campaigning to ban the breed potentially in South Africa. And what typically happens when a story like this surfaces into the headlines of the news is that the advocacy groups, as well as the general public, tend to react and respond emotionally. Of course, in this case, there has been loss of life. So it is an emotional subject, but we don't have a specific agenda for today or specific message that we want to communicate or impress onto anybody. What we want to do today is have an objective discussion around the bigger picture of what is happening with dogs, and in this case, the pit bull breed in South Africa. Now, many of you may not know this, but Philip has extensive experience working with pit bulls, rehabilitating pit bulls, assessing pit bulls for potential rehabilitation and rehoming when and whether they are safe. So Philip is going to be our guide through this discussion. Let's hear, Philip, what are your thoughts on what's happening in the headlines this week?
Tersha, yes, I think firstly our condolences go out to the family. I think if I got the news correctly, the dogs were euthanized immediately. And everybody at this stage is jumping on or in the bandwagon. As you say, we've got advocacy groups, we have the general public, we have those sympathizing with the dogs and those who are going anti-pit bull breed. I think what we must keep in mind at this stage is, and I always go back to this, I'm sorry, unfortunately we don't have the history of these dogs, we don't have their daily routine, their lives that they lived. Nobody has the real facts and the background, yet everybody's jumping in and everybody's got something to say. I always say that a pit bull is as much an animal as every other dog in this country. Whenever somebody is injured or killed by pit bulls, it makes headline news. But all the other incidents where people are badly injured by dogs, critically injured, or there's loss of life, you might just hear a news flash or something. But as soon as the name pit bull is attached, it becomes a massive thing, and everybody's on the bandwagon. So
it is. So from the very start, we all, the general member of the public tends to be a little bit biased in this regard because you always hear pit bulls, pit bulls, pit bulls.
Yeah, you attach the name to any attack, pit bull, and it makes headline news and everybody goes bananas. So I must go back. We don't want to talk about training and all sorts, but I just want to go back and say that I've worked with so many pit bulls. Those coming out of any and every area, those that have attacked, those that have killed other dogs, even those that have had a go at children and things like that. They've come to me as rescue animals. And if you go into their history and see the way they've been treated, and you start asking the questions, why do people keep these pit bulls? Unfortunately, in our area, it's a case of they carry value, monetary value. And if I have 8 puppies, I can sell each of them for 1,000 Rand. I make a quick couple of bucks on the sideline. And it's part of my survival. But the dogs are bred over and over and over There's no control. There's no control over history of aggression or anything. The families they go to, these dogs go in all directions. The brutality of cutting off ears and all sorts, and fighting these dogs is another aspect that has monetary value. So if this breed is banned, it's not going to be able to control. It's not going to be controlled. Who's going to police it?
Yes.
It's not going to be policed. And if it does, I'll pay a 1,000 rand fine if that's what it is. And that's just one of my puppies. I'll still make a profit on the others I sell. So that's the tragic side. The other side is that the ones that have come to me that have been rescued, and we've managed to pull them through, and in 20 years, I have no failures, none whatsoever. We've pulled them through. It's a long process of rehabilitation, socialization, adaptation, because remember, this dog knows nothing other than bite and fight. It's life history. And in actual fact, this dog doesn't want to be there, but it knows no other life. And to take this dog, once you've got him under control, to take him down to the beach and just to see that animal living in the moment, just that moment. Sorry, my voice is a little bit weird. Then you realize that this is just the same as any other dog. But the life it has led doesn't include any of the nice stuff. So when we look at where the attacks occur and what happens, we very often find that it's in disasters areas. And the government not being able to protect the public of South Africa through other resources, people have taken to the idea that I must protect myself and I must get these dogs.
Mm.
And I must put a 10-kilogram chain around his neck to make him more muscular. They don't get fed properly. They don't get neutered. They don't get spayed. The frustration builds. And when the day comes, it doesn't matter who it is. It can be the owner. It can be a child. It can be the neighbor. The day they go into attack mode, I'm afraid you just can't turn them around. Once that adrenaline kicks in to that depth, there's only one way, and that's to shoot the dog immediately. That's all that's going to stop him. You're not going to stop him otherwise.
That's a very important distinction to consider. If it's a Yorkie biting somebody, it's very possible to stop the attack before anybody gets seriously hurt. With a pit bull, with the intensity that comes with the breed, and with the fact that they are often genetically unsound due to these breeding practices.
Yeah. And we must remember that going breed specific, why were these animals or this breed initially bred? For what purpose? Fighting. So the fighting within this breed and the high intensity of adrenaline and stuff hasn't been bred out of them. You know, we have breeds that have come through the years and the negative traits of the breeds have been bred out. I love pit bulls. The ones I've worked with, my word, you call him and say, dress up, and he sits and he waits for his harness. You put the leash on him, you go out there, you tell him sit down, leave. He does everything. He's the same animal as every other animal. And he doesn't want to be that aggressor, but it's the humans who make him that. And now they want to ban pit bulls. No. I read somewhere somebody said before anybody gets a pit bull, they should be forced to go and do a course of some sort. I say not just for pit bulls, I say for every dog that you want, you should go on a course before you're allowed a permit to have a dog. But you know, I've always felt that with dogs, before you can have a dog in your possession, you should have a permit, like a driver's license, that says you have passed this and this course. Because you know what? If you've got that permit, like a driver's license, and you break the law, we have grounds to stand on, and we can follow up, and we can take you to court. We can do whatever needs to be done, but we can also make sure you will never ever own a dog again. But again, you can introduce these into South Africa, but there's nobody to police it, and the government can't do it. So for those shouting ban the pit bull breed, I think you better go and do a rethink, and then come and tell us how it's going to be policed, how it's going to be done. Are you going to go into the locations and euthanize every pit bull you find just because it's there and somebody's got it and it's now a banned breed? How are you going to phase it out? You're going to tell them that every pit bull must be neutered or spayed? Who's going to pay for that? Who's going to do it? And now I'm not going to get 1,000 rand a puppy anymore because I've taken my dog and spayed it. So in this country, we have huge problems. And until such time as there is a method, a way to control this, we are going to have attacks and we are going to have deaths, fatal attacks. And believe you me, it's not going to be from pit bulls only. We just hear about all the pit bulls. We don't hear about the other breeds. But I think people must stay off the bandwagon until they've got all the facts. And I think that just banning the breed is not the solution. Education is a solution. But you know, some people don't want to be educated. You can stand on your head. They just don't want to be educated. So,
and unfortunately, on the flip side, you can educate somebody until you're blue in the face. If a litter of puppies makes them 10 grand, who's going to say no to that, even if you know better, when you need the money to feed yourself, to roof over your head?
We have people all over this country who have the 2 Yorkies at home and they breed with them and sell the puppies for 2,000-3,000 rand a piece. Because that's like a bonus. And then at some stage and point, you look at those poor Yorkies and they've been so overbred. And then what happens to the dog that can't breed anymore? So, you know, I'm very sad. I really am. It's not the dogs. It's the humans, always.
So there we have it from Philip himself, having worked with so many pit bulls over the course of his career, having detailed, in-depth experience of every aspect of the pit bull breed. This is just some food for thought for anybody sitting on the fence, wanting to make up their mind, but not knowing, will breed ban solve the problem? What is going to solve the problem? We don't say we have the answers, but we do have context. So there you go. Thank you so much, Philip. We appreciate your input.
My pleasure.